Hello and welcome. It's Michelle Brown from mixedmediaart.net coming to you live from the Mixed Media Art Studios in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Now I've snuck into the studio on this Saturday afternoon and I've been doing a bit of tidying up. We're getting ready for our Picture to Page Papercraft show next weekend, and what I wanted to do was talk to you about our new Impressables. So for those of you that are coming along to the Picture to Page Papercraft show, you'll be able to see these, have them in your hot little hands and have a play with them. Now, as we said, we're in Victoria, Australia, and we've been told that our shipment of Impressables will be available towards the end of March 2017. So we're looking forward to be able to sharing them with you then. So we're going to talk a bit about what the Impressables are, show you how I like to use them with the gel plates and the folk art paints, and we'll have a bit of a play. So come and join me. Okay, so there's 4 different Impressible plates at the moment. We've got this design from Sally Lynn, which is a square pattern. We've got some overlapping circles, again by Sally Lynn. We've got this lovely Mandela by Jen Starr. And then finally, which is the one that I've pulled out here, we've got the repeat circles. So these, as you can see, are actually quite floppy. So they do help if they've got a backing place to pop them on. Now they're calling them 7.5 by 7 inches or so. I think they're about closer to 8 by 8 inches, and they really do need a big backing plate, which I did have one here somewhere. I can't find it, so we're just going to leave it on that for now. So here I've got my 8-inch by 10-inch gel plate. I've got it just sitting on a piece of plastic. We don't like to put it on paper. We need it on some sort of impermeable backing so that it doesn't draw the oil out of it. Now I've already got a few of my favourite colours open. We're using the folk art acrylic paints. I like these because they're really good value paints to use for the gel plate. You get through quite a bit of paint and paper as you're playing, so it's always good to have something that you're happy to use, you're not just saving for good. So there's a couple of different ways that we can play with the Impressables and the gel plates and put them together, so we'll run through a few of the different ways now. So one of the first things we can do, of course, is add some paint onto the gel plate. Now, of course, the trick is when you're just getting started, you don't want to use too much paint because it just makes too much of a mess. So I like to use sort of 3 colours that are fairly similar colour range, so either all cools or all warms. And we can just easily brayer that out. Now, of course, you want to use that yummy colour that's on there and roll that off as well. So we've got the creating of a nice page there. Now what we can do is that we've got a little bit of paint there. We actually use this to create an impression on it. So if we go setting it on, giving a bit of a press, creating some space, pulling it up, and then we can pop that straight down and use it as a big stamp. So using the gel plate as a paint palette and then using the Impressables to create a really nice image. So there's sort of that first step that we can do. Now, second thing, of course, is that we're starting to build up an impression on our gel plate. So I can continue to add a few more circles here and there. Gosh, you need a bit of space when you're doing this. And then grabbing a piece of paper, putting it straight down onto the gel plate, giving it a nice rub, which is quite often our favourite part. And then pulling up, and we can see there we've got that first pull. So the paint has been removed by the Impressables and given us that rather interesting looking background. So of course, now that we've got a little bit of colour already on there, we can use a bit of a contrasting colour. What colour will we use? Maybe a little bit of pink. So again, I'm just using the popsicle sticks. That gives us a chance to get some paint out. Maybe it's not going to be this one today. Maybe we'll try some yellow as well. So getting that out, just using the edge of it to get the paint on the brayer. So what we want to do is reactivate the paint that's already on the gel plate and not actually pick up the image. So again, finding our piece that we're rolling off on. Now, because this promises to be quite an interesting print, I usually start with a clean sheet of paper. Here I'm using a sheet of A4, so slightly bigger than the US letter size, and about 90 GSM, and it's got a slight smooth finish to it, which is a really nice pull. So there we go, we can see the yellow and the pink in the background, and then the blue and the greeny colour that was left on the plate. Okay, so one of the other things that we can do with it is using the paint palette and the brayer together as well. So if we wanted something, a little bit of contrast, maybe something a bit subtler, so here I've got a really nice Battleship Grey to give us a bit of a contrast but not too much. And a brayer. And again, remember with the brayer we want to roll it and then pick it up and move it along. If we're just rolling it backwards and forwards, we're not really spreading the paint out, we're just creating a bit of a mess in one corner. So now that I've got a good cover on my brayer as well as my gel plate, I can use that again as the paint palette and apply the paint straight onto the Impressables. What that will allow me to do, again, this is where you need a bit of space, is take a print that I've done previously. So here's a nice greeny blue. I need so much space. And then we can turn that straight over and then use it as a big stamp. And using the gel plate and the brayers really allowed us to control the amount of paint that goes on it. So it gives us a nice, clear impression. So there we can see the grey that I've put on, as well as some of the green that was already hanging out on the Impressible. So that's the cool thing about Impressibles, because it is the same material as the gel plate, it holds that paint and then it can be reactivated with the subsequent layers to give it that really interesting look. So sometimes we can plan it, sometimes we don't plan it, and that's of course the fun about gel plate. So I need to move quickly. It's quite warm here in Melbourne this morning, and we've got some grey now on top of the other colours, and well, let's see what we've got. Lost track of where we're up to on the gel plate. So I think we had a little bit of interesting colour underneath and then putting this layer on top. So that's what we like using that Battleship Grey for. So we can see the pink and yellow that was there. We can see some of the circles that we've put on it. And then, of course, that grey is there to reactivate the paint as well. Okay, so what else can we do? Perhaps let's play with one of the other ones. So get out the squares by Sally Lynn. So again, this comes in a clamshell just like the gel plates do. You want to make sure you always keep that packaging so you can store them back in there. Now at the recent gel press certification class, they were suggesting to throw away the leaflet, and you don't need to keep the bits of plastic that come with it. I just like keeping it all together because that's just me. So I can see we've had a bit of play with this as well. So okay, let's choose some other colours and see what we can do. So again, what we want to do first is create a base to give us something to play with. So grabbing a few colours. Again, feeling like ocean colours because it's quite warm here today. I'm thinking of being on the cool ocean. Spreading those colours out. So again, I might have something here that I decide I want to add a few lines to. So I can use the brayer on the gel plate, on the Impressables, to then add that as an additional stamp as well. Interesting. So I actually quite like that. So what I might do then is see what paint's left and just apply it to the rest of it. So one of the favourite things I like doing with my gel prints at the moment is cutting them up and making them into different size stickers. So I'm really interested in getting as much texture and visual information in that small area as possible. So when I cut it up, that can become the focus. Okay, so again, the cool thing about the squares is that it's a bit of a pattern, so we can sort of put it on here, stamp that paint off, pop it over here and get a bit of a repeating pattern happening. Again, could I have done that all in one go? Yeah, probably. But doing it that way gives me a slightly different pattern than what the Impressables just looks like, and that's where the flexibility really is. I'll turn them all sorts of different ways. So there we go. Oh, it didn't blend the best, but it gives us an idea of what those squares could look like. Oops. Okay. So again, we just continue, and when you're doing gel plating, we tend to work on 3 or 4 different things at once. So we've got the page that we're doing our rolling out on. I just realised I didn't take that last lot off. Oh, and it's got some that's been over on the square, so that gives us a really interesting pattern. See that? That's where the brayer had been over the squares and given it some real texture. Oh, better not leave that there. That's going to get a bit stuck. So we're working on the page that we're rolling our brayer off on. We've got our images, and then of course we can create some background ones that we can then stamp onto. So that's what we're going to do here, is create something in a bit of a different colour. Wow, it's really warm here today, and that's drying really quickly. So, creating a bit of a background in purple, because we always need some purple. So again, that gives us something really interesting to begin with. Basic purple, but we can see we've got some of the colours in there, and of course we could use other things to add texture. We could use bubble wrap, but today we're just focusing on the Impressables. So now I'll get some of the grey, and so I think if we just look over the way I've done it, the way I actually like it best is if we use the brayer to apply the paint. That seems to give us sort of that best finish. It's a little bit easier to replicate, which is what we want sometimes. As much as we love the spontaneity of it, it's also nice to be able to get it to work again. Now, because these Impressables are slightly smaller than the 8x10, it does give you that flexibility to move things around as well. So there we go, there's our first impression. We've got the purple on the background, and then that battleship grey. The poor squares look a bit wonky, don't they? I think maybe, these are quite thin, they're, what's that? About 4 or 5 millimetres, and quite wobbly, so they really do need a good base. So if you've got a large acrylic block, I think that would work well, and I'll certainly be looking at stocking some of those as well when we get the Impressables in, so we can have them permanently ready to go. So while that grey paint's wet, I'm just going to add a bit more onto there. So that's the one that we've already stamped that bit of. Now if I get this around the right way, we can continue the pattern, which I guess was the whole idea with the design. And I've just made sure that the bottom half's on another sheet as well. So there we go. I probably could have put it over a little bit closer, but that's given us the chance to continue that pattern and again get that battleship grey with that little bit of green in it. Really makes a cool impression. So of course we want to keep moving. We've now got the paint on the gel plate. We can, maybe if we put it on an angle, will give us lines in different directions. This is actually getting quite dry, because as I mentioned, it's quite warm. So let's get that moving. And of course, just like your braids, you want to make sure you don't leave your Impressible down on your paper, because it will dry and get a bit sticky, which again is not the end of the world. They'll clean up pretty well, but it can just be a bit annoying. Oh, and yeah, we're starting to leave that too long, so we're finding that we're starting to, it's not all coming up. So just grab another colour. This is a really cool colour. It's a light peony, which is a bit of a pinky purpley colour. So not too pink, but for some reason I always like the pink and grey together. And it looks like we're going to have to restock our paints before we head off to the picture to page scrapbooking tray. So again, just rolling it along the side, really getting the brayer covered in it. You want to try and keep, we don't want to lift off the paint that's already on there, we just want to use that to reactivate it. So while I was doing the certification class, Sally Lynn was telling us the reason that this works is because the acrylic paint as it's sitting on the gel plate is still wet. It's just that top layer that's dried. So by putting some more paint on top of it, it actually reactivates the top layer. Underneath layer is still wet, and that allows us to pull up that design and gives us that interesting print. So it's not so much that first pull, and sometimes it can be the ghost print, but other times it can be, oh, see, that's become really light, so that's where our contrast doesn't work. But that's okay, because what we can then do is get a darker colour and put the things back onto it. So, what have I got? Or maybe. got a silver paint. Now, I don't tend to use a lot of metallics on the gel plate, just because we really haven't had them for long. If you just added, also these, the Folk Arts metallic paints are quite runny. So you need to be a little bit more careful when you use them. But again, these can be great for that pickup print because they are quite translucent. So what would happen, so this is the fun part of the gel plate where we suddenly go, but what if we tried this? Let's give it a go. And popping that on. Then of course the problem with metallics is they don't tend to show up too well on the camera. But you can just see there if I can get the light to reflect off it. So we've got the pink and the grey in the background, and then we've got that really nice metallic-y silver sitting on top with the squares Impressables. So that's it for today, showing you that the 4 different ranges of Impressables. So we've got the one in squares by Sally Lynn, which gives us a print like that. We've got, where'd it go? The Repeating Circles by Jen Starr, and that gives us a really cool print that looks like that. So Jen's actually designed this so that if you wanted to put contrasting colours on, we can then rotate it and, let's give it a go. What we can do if we've got enough silver on there, we can just add it onto here. And so there are 2 different circle designs for the Impressables, so I want to make sure you don't get them confused. So this is the Repeating Circles. So it was designed so if I'd put this down like this, I get that impression. But now if I turn it 90 degrees, and because they're clear, we can line them up, maybe, and then we can put another colour on and then actually fill that up. So where there's a solid circle, it goes into the ring, and when there's a ring, it sits around the solid circle. So that gives us a chance to then add a little bit of sparkle to it as well. Okay, so yes, we've got the squares, we've got the Repeating Circles by Jen Starr. Then the other 2 in the range are the Overlapping Circles by, that one's Sally Lynn, and then again the Mandela as well. So would you guys like to see me have a play with these as well? Oh yeah, is there any thumbs up? Remember on Facebook Live you can tap the screen, you can hit the thumbs up, you can give me hearts as well. So if anyone there would like me to see play with the Mandela, just let me know. Oh, we might as well keep going while we're having so much fun. So let's get these out of the way. Let's not lose them, that's going to be the challenge I think, because they're a bit thin and floppy. Okay, let's grab a few more colours. Okay, we're going crazy now. We're moving into the reds and maroons, which for those of you who know my normal colour palette, tending to get a bit outside the comfort range, but I think we'll cope today. We'll see how we go. Isn't it funny how we get funny with colours sometimes, and we get all worried about not putting good colours together? And we've got to remember that that's just a learning opportunity. Just remember that we don't want to put those colours together again. Okay, so let's create a few little backgrounds. Particularly the Mandela Impressible is quite, oops, that was a real oops. The Impressibles, the Mandela one is quite open, so we want to make sure we've got a really nice background for that. So that could be a good one for there. What else? Again, sometimes you want to think about what colours you want as the background and what in the foreground. The cool thing about the folk art paints is most of them are quite opaque, so you can put that second layer on and it gives you a really good cover. And then of course you want to use the more see-through ones for the background layers. Okay, so it just gives us a few little backgrounds. This is also a great way to use backgrounds that you sort of created before and think, oh, it just needs something else, so the Impressables can be used, just like the stamps. So there we go, we've got the maroons with a little bit of silver still in there. So let's go with something a bit more orangey. Oh, so now I'm getting the paint out. I haven't actually got. So we'll start with the Mandela Impressible. So again, these are by Gel Press, used with exactly the same materials as the gel plate. I've just made them a bit smaller and put a pattern on them. So as I said, mixedmediaart.net here in Victoria, Australia, we've got our first order in, and we're hoping to have them by the end of March, which means we'll have them ready for our Pattern and Show. So, okay, I've got that ready. Excellent. So it does take a little bit more planning ahead, but it's a really good way to get more use out of your gel plate because you've already got your paints out, you've already got your brayer out. So we can certainly use that. Okay, so first off, the painting this up will give a really good picture. So it's a beautiful mandala, lots of open space, which really helps the background shine through. So now that I've got some paint on that, hopefully that makes that a little bit easier to see. And we will choose one of these lovely red backgrounds. Can you see that? Just. Okay, and then we will pop that on there. So I'm finding this is a bit of a different one because it's more of a picture in itself. It gives us that really nice openness. You see it through there? Yeah. So again, maybe not the best colour combination, but oh well, doesn't matter. Okay, now we've got some yellow on there. What could we add some yellow on to? So we've got this interesting one that we had before, so let's add a little bit more onto that as well. So again, if you're getting a bit impatient, don't bother applying the paint with the brayer, just put it straight onto the gel plate. And then just over time you'll get used to exactly how much paint you need, whether it's a cooler day, a little bit less. Some paints are more runny, so that means you don't need quite as much there as well. So there we go, that's added some interest. Okay. So, yeah, again, the start of something. I'm not going to get too worried about that. So now I want something to play with the overlapping circles, which I think is actually my favourite. Let me grab that one. Some antique gold, so a nice bright colour, because I want to put it onto this red and silver background that I've created. So I'm hoping that will be a good contrast. So sometimes with these paints, you just never know. So again, using the popsicle stick just to get out a little bit of paint. Too much. Oh, forgot again, getting the Impressables out. So, as I was saying, we want to make sure we do that gently so we can reuse our cover. Oops. Maybe we might need to find a better way of storing these in the future, because it looks like managed to get that stuck, which is a bit annoying. But again, not the end of the world, so using very carefully a little bit of metallic paint on the brayer, rolling it over those overlapping circles. So again, I really do like the overlapping circles because it's sort of the most random of all the four. And it gives us that chance to, if it's not perfect, then it really doesn't matter. We can just move it around and give it another go. So do that up one end of my print. Really do need a nice backing. So there, and again the gold's probably not going to show up as well as it should. We can see that beautiful red background and then the beautiful gold overlapping circles. So we've got a bit more space down here, and that's the really cool thing about having the Impressables. It's actually smaller than the plate that we're using because it gives us a chance to overlap and fill it up. So it gives us that little bit more control. So again, always being lazier the second time. Now I can see there I've got similar circles, so I'm going to turn that around 90 degrees and just overlap it there a bit as well. Give it a nice rub, and of course peel it up, gets most of that paint off, and it gives us a lovely sheet of paper. So now that we've been doing gel plating for quite a while now, I'm finding I'm getting a really good collection of papers, so I'm using them to create art journals. Sometimes I'm doing some printing directly into my art journal, so I can certainly show you how I do that, and then making the stickers as well. So I'm having so much fun at the moment using watercolour pads and turning them into these art journals. And again, we'll be showing this at the Picture to Page show in Bendigo next week. So here you can see those circles pressed straight in. So the great thing about this design is that when you get all the signatures together and you sew them, if you want a gel plate into it, it opens flat. So even though sometimes you get a little bit of a hiccup in the impression, much better than some of those art journals that don't quite lay flat and drive me a little bit on the crazy side. So here's a lovely blank page. Let's see what we can do with this. So we know we've already got a little bit of gold paint here. Oh, I don't know, I think we'll have to go with the circles again because I'm just having a bit too much fun with those. So again, clearing some space, making sure you can see. So Impressables still on their backing plastic of how they're being packed. And then, I know it's not going to fill it, so I've either got to try and match the print up, or look, just decide to put somewhere completely different, so perhaps we can use the rest of that. Now, because this is so flexible, it does really allow me to get right into the join, the fold of the page. Oh, that's come up really pretty. That's a really, really rich gold. But again, a bit of a funny print, so what we might do is turn it around. Where'd that go? Roll out the paint that's on there. So here we're using the gel plate as the paint palette, so we're not too worried about the impression that's on there. We're working with what's on the Impressables. So turning it over, looking at what's there, lining it up, and then putting it down, and as I said, just pressing over that join to make sure we get right up next to it, which really doesn't work with normal stamps. Gives us that little bit of flexibility. So that's where we can use the flexibility for good rather than it being annoying. And there we go, the start of a really interesting art journal background. So we can see we've got one of the prints here, turned it around, put another one there. So whether I added a little bit more there, I don't know yet. So of course the other great thing with having your very own art journal that folds flat is that we can use it straight onto the gel plate. So here's a little baby one I made. It's so cute. So this was a 5 paper, which is half of A4, and then folded in half. So it gives us a C6 journal. So this will give us quite a few pages, and we can get 3 of these out of a watercolour palette. So it gives us a really economical way of creating art journals that are really easy then to print into. So again, I've got gold on here. I don't really want gold on my home page, but I wouldn't mind a gold border top and bottom. So what I can do is just use the edge of the plate. And again, because of the way it's bound, it's really easy to press it in. Yeah, it's starting to get a bit dry and gives us the start of a really interesting border there. And again, if I want to add a bit more paint, turn it round and add it. Oh, this is getting really dry. Okay, maybe I should stop talking. Add a little bit across the top. And there we go. So again, start of something really interesting. Because we're using the edge of the gel plate, it gives it some really interesting textures and little bits and pieces. So yeah, we might see whether we can, well, that might be a bit ambitious. Let's see. No, it looks like I've stuck my thumb in something. But that's okay. As Caroline Dubie would say, it's an outstanding opportunity presenting itself suddenly. So there's a great way to do that. I think we've covered everything. So I think it might be time for me to pack up and head out. So I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration of the gel press Impressables. Like we said, there's 4 different ones available at the moment. In Australia, we're hoping to have our first shipment towards the end of March 2017. So we won't have them at our Bendigo show to sell, but we have got a set to play with, and we will definitely have some on sale at our May show in Pakenham on the 6th and 7th of May. So it's Michelle Brown here from mixedmediaart.net, where we believe you just need a little bit of inspiration, some techniques, and of course the basic materials to be able to create amazing, amazing things. So please like our video, click on it, add any comments below. I'll keep an eye on it for a bit to see if there's anything else you need to know. And you guys have a crafty day.